Hi guys, I'm Aru Manyar and today we are back with discussing a new topic from prosthodontist and it is vertical jaw relation, a topic of complete denture. So in the last video we talked about how to measure how to record the horizontal jaw relation or the centric relation, and today we'll look about the vertical jaw relation. So let me come with the definition, then the method, how we can record, and the methods of each one. Okay, so first with the definition. So what is basically a vertical jaw relation? So the length of the face as determined by the amount of separation of the jaws. As we all know that the maxilla is locked with the cranium. It is not a movable jaw or movable bone. So the length of the face, this is from the whole face, which is determined by the amount of separation of the jaws. So here we are basically talking about the separation of the mandible from the maxilla. Okay, so this is the definition for vertical jaw relation. The length of the face as determined by the amount of separation of the jaws. So how can we record the vertical jaw relation? So vertical jaw relation can be recorded by two methods. That is vertical dimension at rest and vertical dimension at occlusion. Okay. So what is vertical dimension at rest? First we'll look about this and then we'll discuss about the methods to record the vertical dimension at rest, and then we'll move forward to seeing the methods of recording vertical dimension at occlusion. So basically VD at rest, that is vertical dimension at rest, is the length of the face when the mandible is in rest position. So here I'll write the definition of vertical jaw relation is length of face when mandible is in the rest position. Okay. So why do we have to study about this, and what is a rest position? So basically when you are just sitting idly or you are just daydreaming or doing nothing in particular, there is a little bit of space, a very minimum space, that is approximately 2 to 3 mm between the upper and the lower teeth, and this space is known as the freeway space. So here I'll just mention one point in vertical dimension at rest, that is freeway space. And why do we have to study about the freeway space? So this is a very important thing to understand, because whenever we have to make a bridge between vertical occlusion and vertical dimension at occlusion and the vertical dimension at rest, we have to incorporate the freeway space. So here we can say that vertical dimension at rest is equal to VD at occlusion plus the freeway space. Okay. So the vertical dimension at rest, that is when you are sitting idly or when you are just not doing anything, there is a little bit of space, that is approximately 2 to 3 mm between the upper and the lower teeth, and that we can also derive a formula that when the teeth are in maximum contact, when you clench your teeth, so that is VD at occlusion, and when you add the VD and occlusion with the freeway space, that is 2 to 3 mm, and it differs in different cases, we get VD at rest. So here are the 5 methods with which we can record the vertical dimension at rest. So the first one is we can take the facial measurements after swallowing and relaxing. The second is the tactile sensation. Third, measurements of the anatomic landmark. Fourth is the speech, and fifth, the facial expression. This might be a little difficult to learn because there are 5 big points, but I have a mnemonic for you. So we can just remember F, T, M, S, F. So I like this bike, that is KTM. So but instead of K, we'll start with F. So KTM is super fast. That is FTM is SF. So instead of the K, we have to just replace it with a F. So here the mnemonic can be FTM is super fast. So with this we can remember the 5 basic methods with which we can record vertical dimension at rest. So like we did in the horizontal jaw relation, we'll just explain each one on this side of the board. So first we'll see how to record the vertical dimension at rest with the help of facial measurements and swallowing. So here it is very simple. The patient is asked to relax and sit. First the patient is asked to sit in an upright position, and then we ask the patient to relax the shoulders. When the patient relaxes the shoulders, the suprahyoid and the infrahyoid muscles are relaxed. And after the patient has done this much things, we ask the patient to do the functional movements, that is swallowing. After you do this swallowing, you can see in yourself also, after do the swallowing movement, there will be a little amount of space between your upper and the lower teeth. Okay, so facial measurements after swallowing and relaxing. So first here we ask the patient to sit upright. Okay, then we ask the patient to relax the shoulders. So why do we ask the patient to relax the shoulders? Because when you just shrug your shoulders like this, you just sit like that, it will relax the supra and the infrahyoid muscles. Because we don't want the patient to be tensed, or we don't want the patient to be clenching the teeth. That's why we ask the patient to relax the shoulders. After this is done, we ask the patient to do functional movements like swallowing or wetting of the lips. When you move your tongue all over your lips and you just ask the patient to relax, there will be a little amount of space. So functional movements, as the name suggests, swallowing and relaxing. I'm just writing S and R. After this is done, you will see that the patient has relaxed, and here 2 points are marked. The one point is at tip of the nose. So first point will be at tip of the nose, and the second point will be at the chin, the center of the chin. Okay, so after this is done, the 2 points are marked, and then the vertical dimension at rest is measured. So the distance between these two is VD at rest. Okay. Now we'll move on further to the tactile sensation. So this is another way or method to record the vertical dimension at rest. So here it is basically 100% on patient's perception. So first we ask the patient to sit, and then we ask the patient to open the mouth as wide as the person can. So when you open a mouth for a longer period of time, a very big, you just ask patient just open your mouth and keep it open. So at one point of the time, the patient will feel discomfort in the muscles. The patient cannot keep his mouth entirely open for a longer period of time. So when the patient feels discomfort in the muscles, we ask the patient to slowly close the mouth. So when the mouth is open entirely or as wide as the person can, when we ask the patient to close the mouth, the patient will slowly bring the mandible forward towards the maxilla. And then we ask the patient to stop at a comfortable position. So here the patient sits. Then we ask the patient to open the mouth as wide as he can. So this will lead to certain amount of discomfort to the patient. So when the patient says that, okay, I am feeling a lot of pain or my muscles are stretched, we ask the patient to slowly close the mouth. So when the patient slowly closes, the mandible will come towards the maxilla, and we ask the patient to stop closing when he feels comfortable. So what is the disadvantage here? Because we never know. Every person has their own individual pain threshold or tolerance threshold. So here the patient can close at his own perception. So the disadvantage here is it is entirely based on the patient's perception of comfort and discomfort. Okay, we have just seen the first 2 points. Facial measurements after swallowing and relaxing, that is sit upright, relax the shoulders, relax the infra and suprahyoid muscles. The functional movements like swallowing and the wetting of lips. Here we can also add swallowing and relaxing or wetting of lips. The 2 points are already marked before we start these things, and the distance between these two will give us the vertical dimension at rest. The second was tactile sensation, where the patient sits. We ask the patient to open the mouth as wide as he can. Then the patient will feel discomfort, and slowly when we ask the patient to close the mouth and the patient starts closing at a certain amount of distance, the patient will feel comfortable. And the disadvantage here is it is entirely based on patient's perception. Okay. So now we'll go about with the next 3 topics. Okay. So guys, now we'll see about 3, 4 and 5, that is measurements of the anatomic landmarks, the speech and the facial expressions. These are very small simple topics. We'll just revise it very fast. Okay. So first we'll go about with measurements of the anatomic landmarks. So here I'll just draw a face, the eyes, the nose, and this is the mouth. Okay, bear with my drawings, they are not very good, but it is just for concepts. So measurement of the face, here we need 4 basic points. So I'll just write A. The first distance that we will measure will be between the pupil of the eye to rima oris. Rima oris is nothing but the opening of the mouth. And the second distance that we will measure will be between anterior nasal spine and the lower border of the mandible. Okay. So here, if I just show you in a diagram, this will be the pupil of the eye, the center of the pupil of the eye to rima oris. This will be the opening of the mouth somewhere here. So this distance, will name it as A distance, and then the anterior nasal spine to the lower border of the mandible. This will be distance B. Both distances should be measured by using something known as Willys guide. So this is an instrument or a device which helps us to measure the distance A and the distance B. So after measuring these distances, we compare A with B. So if A is equal to B, we can say that VD is at rest. Vertical dimension at rest is obtained. Okay. Now we'll go about with the speech. So that is point 4. In speech, there are again 2 methods by which we can record the vertical dimension at rest with the method of speech. Here, first we can ask the patient to repeatedly pronounce the letter M or something which ends with M, known as Ram, or anything which ends with M. So when the patient continuously pronounces the letter M or the words which ends with M, so after pronouncing, if you just start saying M, 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 if you see, your lips are in contact, but the teeth, the upper and the lower teeth, have a little bit of space, and we need that space because we are recording vertical dimension at rest. So the first method in speech is by continuously pronouncing letter M by the patient. And the second will be, the dentist can normally talk to the patient, and after talking to the patient, the dentist can immediately measure the distance between the 2 points that we saw here. Here the same, will measure the same distance, that will be the tip of the nose and the center of the chin. These will be our 2 basic landmarks which help us to measure the distance or measure vertical dimension at rest. So here the dentist can talk continuously to the patient, and after the patient stops talking, immediately we measure the vertical dimension at rest. Patient talks. Okay. So the patient talks, and when the patient stops, immediately we measure the vertical dimension at rest. And lastly, we have facial expressions. So here we have to remember only 4 points: eyes, chin, lips and nose. Okay. Eyes, chin, lips and nose. So why do we have to remember this? Because we want that the skin around the eyes and the chin, it should be relaxed. So we can say that if this skin is relaxed around the eyes and the chin, they are unstrained, then we can hypothetically say that the patient has a vertical dimension at rest. The lips, so in this point, the lips should just be in slight contact. They should not be open. They should just be in slight contact. So when we used to pronounce the letter M, start pronouncing M, 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 you see the lips are in just slight contact when the patient is not speaking or when the patient is just sitting there. So the lips should be in slight contact. So this also signifies that the vertical dimension it has rest. Okay, and last is nose. The nose should be unobstructed. It should be relaxed. The patient should not be, very in a clenched position or very in a tense position. So here the nose should be unobstructed and it should be relaxed. So these are basically the last three methods with which we can record the vertical dimension at rest. Quickly revising the third point, measurements of the anatomic landmark. First, we see the distance between the pupil of the eye to the rima oris. Rima oris is nothing but opening of the mouth, and the second distance will be the anterior nasal spine and the lower border of the mandible. When the distance between A and the distance between B both are measured with a Wiley guide and both are equal, we can say that vertical dimension is at rest. Second, using speech, the letter M is used, or the dentist talks to the patient and immediately after the patient stops talking, we measure the distance between the tip of the nose and the center of the chin. And lastly, we have eyes, chin, lips and nose. So eyes and chin, the skin around the eyes and chin should be relaxed, the lips should be in slight contact and the nose should be unobstructed and relaxed. So about vertical dimension at rest and the methods to record it. Now we'll see about the second part, that is vertical dimension at occlusion. Okay, so as we saw, vertical dimension at rest was the length of the face when the ridges or the jaws were in the rest position, or when the mandible was in the rest position. So here, what is the definition of vertical dimension at occlusion? So the length of the face when the teeth are in contact and the mandible is in centric relation. So only 2 points you have to remember: the length of the face when the teeth are in contact and the mandible is in centric relation. Okay, so there are various methods with we can record the vertical dimension at occlusion, and I have listed them. We'll just go about with it. First, the mechanical method, and second, it is the physiological methods. In mechanical methods, we have to learn about 3 points, that is ridge relation, pre-extraction records and measurements from former dentures. And in the physiological methods, we have PowerPoint, then we have using the Weck's occlusal rims, then we can have the physiological rest positions, the phonetics, the aesthetics, the swallowing threshold, the tactile sensation of the patient and the patient's perception of comfort. I know it's a very big list, but I have a mnemonic for you. It is PUP, PAST, PT. Okay, from P we have PowerPoint, U using the Weck's occlusal rim, P again, that is the physiologic rest position, P again, that is phonetics, A is aesthetics, S is swelling threshold, T is the tactile sensation and PT is patient's perception of comfort. Okay, so first we'll go about to the mechanical methods, and in the mechanical methods we'll talk about ridge relation. Okay, so in ridge relation again we have 2 ways with which we can have our ridge relation. The first is the distance between the incisive papilla and the mandibular incisors. Okay, so here it might be a little complicated, but I'll just simplify it out for you. And the second method will be the parallelism of the ridges. When the ridges are parallel, we can say that we have vertical dimension at occlusion. So here parallelism of ridges. So first we'll talk about the distance between the incisive papilla and the mandibular incisors. So I'll just have a diagram, draw a diagram, a rough diagram for the concept purpose. So here if we have, imagine this is our incisive papilla. We all know that we have got maxillary incisors placed something like this, and the incisive papilla is in the center. This is the incisive papilla, the maxillary incisors. Okay, and these we have the mandibular incisors. This is the lingual view of the maxillary and the mandibular incisors. So the distance between the incisive papilla and the edges, incisal edges of the maxillary incisors is 6 mm. Okay, but we all know that when we close our mouth and when we have the teeth are in contact, this lower mandibular incisors will come below or overlap the maxillary incisors. So when these whole combination is in occlusal, we can see something like this. This will be our maxillary incisors, okay, and the mandible, this is the lingual view or from inside of the mouth, okay, and this will be our mandibular incisors. So there will be like a 2 mm overlap. If these are the maxillary incisors, I am showing you the lateral view, and these are the mandibular incisors. When the patient closes the mouth, we will have something like this. So there will be a 2 mm overlap. So this overlap will be of 2 mm. So with these two diagrams, can we make out that the distance from the incisive papilla to the maxillary incisors is 6 mm, and when the teeth are in occlusion, there is an overlap of 2 mm. So this 6 mm minus 2 mm, we can have it as 4 mm. So what is this 4 mm? This 4 mm is the distance from the incisive papilla to the incisal, the maxillary mandibular incisal edges. So the distance, this, okay, I'll write it here. This is the distance from the incisive papilla to the incisal edge of the mandibular incisors, and this will get only when the teeth are in occlusion. Again, I'll go it very slowly. Ridge relation, the first point is the distance between the incisive papilla and the mandibular incisors. So the distance between the incisive papilla and the maxillary incisal edge is 6 mm. Here I am talking about the maxillary incisal edge. It is 6 mm. And when we have this overlapping thing, so the distance, the overlap is of 2 mm. It can vary in different cases, but we can take a standardized thing here, that is 2 mm. We can have a 2 mm of overlap. So the distance from this to this is 6 mm. But when there is a 2 mm overlap, the distance from this to this, that is from the incisive papilla to the mandibular incisal edges is 4 mm. And when we get this 4 mm, or we can have this vertical dimension at occlusion. And the second part is the parallelism of the ridges. So here we can say the mandibular ridge is parallel to the maxillary ridge only when they are in occlusion. See, if you keep your mouth closed, the maxillary ridge and the mandibular ridge are parallel to each other. If you open the mouth and if you draw a tangential line, the maxillary line will be like this, the maxillary ridge will be like this, and when you open the mouth, the mandibular ridge will be like this. So they are not parallel. So we can say the maxillary ridge and the mandibular ridge are only parallel when they are at occlusion. Okay. So that was about the ridge relation, the first point in the mechanical methods. Now we'll talk about the pre-extraction records. So here there are further 5 ways inside this one, this topic. So we'll just write it, pre-extraction records. Okay. So in pre-extraction, as the name suggests, we take the records before the extraction of the patient and we use the records to get our vertical dimension at occlusion. So the here first one is profile photographs. So in profile photographs, we take the photos of the patient before extraction. When the patient has teeth, the patient is dentate, we take the profile photographs, left, right, open, closed, everything, and these photos are later enlarged, and the anatomical landmarks, the distance between the anatomical landmarks is measured, and this is tried to be reciprocated in the dentures. So this is profile photographs. Then we have profile silhouettes. We'll talk about it, we'll make notes, so don't worry. I'm just giving you an overview right now. Then that is radiographic methods, then articulated cast, and measurements, that is facial measurements or measurements. We can write facial measurements. Okay, so first one, we'll see about profile photographs. As I said, before extraction, profile photographs are taken. I'll write it to be clear. Before extraction, we take photographs of the patient. Okay, and then these photos are enlarged, and then the distance between the anatomical landmarks are measured. distance between anatomical landmarks are measured. Okay. In the next one, which is profile silhouettes. So what is a silhouette? Silhouette is nothing but an outline. You know, when you're just standing and you have a light coming in front of you, there will be a shadow or an outline of you at the back of your, you know, whatever, the screen or the floor, anything. So that outline is known as a silhouette. So it can be made with a wire which is bendable or a cardboard. So here I'll just draw a face of a patient, nose, the mouth which is open. So first we take a cardboard or we take a wire, we make it in the form of a patient's, you know, whole face. So this is the patient's face and this is the cardboard or the wire which we take, like it's an impression or it's an outline of the patient's face. So first we take this at rest and when the patient has teeth. So this is taken when the patient is dented and we take it in VD at rest. Okay, so after the teeth are extracted, the patient would be looking something like this. He wouldn't be having so much space in between. Here we had the VD at rest, the vertical occlusion and everything because the patient had teeth. Here the patient is not having teeth. So this, when we use this cardboard and we place it here when the patient's teeth are extracted, it will be 2 mm more. We'll get a distance here, some sort of a distance here, because here the patient had teeth. You know, the teeth has got some distance. Here the patient does not have teeth. So when we use this cardboard which was made before the extraction of the patient and we place the same cardboard on the same patient after the extraction of the teeth, there will be 2 mm or 2 centimeter, whatever the distance it is. There will be a certain amount of space and this will give us the vertical dimension and occlusion. So here we can ask the patient to occlude. So I can write vertical dimension and occlusion. We can first measure this here. We don't want the patient to have the space. So here we'll ask the patient to clench the teeth. We'll get a perfect, you know, the face of the patient when the patient has teeth. And then after extracting, we can measure this cardboard distance, okay, how much the distance was there. And we can place the teeth, the teeth that we are going to replace, you know, in the dentures. We can use exactly the same space or the same amount of length of the teeth to get our vertical dimension and occlusion. And the third is radiographic. The radiographic methods, here I just have 2 points, 2 mnemonics that we can remember. It is not very important because the major disadvantage here is inaccuracy. So here CPP is cephalometric profile photographs and RCF is radiograph of the condylar fossa. So CPP is cephalometric profile photographs and RCF is radiograph of condylar fossa. The major disadvantage here is inaccuracy. Okay, so that is about profile photographs, profile silhouettes and radiography. Next one is about the articulated cast. I'll just write it here. So in articulated cast, first we take, when the patient has teeth, the patient is dentate. So here we have 2 things. First, when the patient is dentate, the patient has teeth, we articulate the maxillary cast on our articulator. Then an interocclusal record is recorded, and then we articulate the maxillary cast with help of the interocclusal record. Here the patient has teeth, the patient is dentate. So after the extraction, when the patient is edentulous, okay, we separately articulate the maxillary and the mandibular cast, and then the interocclusal records can be used and it can be confirmed with the edentulous cast, and the distance between the ridges can be measured and articulated in the same way. So in the edentulous, the maxillary and the mandibular cast are articulated separately, and then the distance or the interocclusal record that we had here can be used as a reference to articulate the edentulous cast. So distance can be used or verified to articulate. Okay, so this is about the articulated cast. Lastly, we have the facial measurements. So as we saw here in one of the topics about the facial measurements, the same thing we can use it here. So in facial measurements, that I'll just write it here. We can use the lower border or the tip of the chin and the distance from the base of the nose. So this is my base of the nose and this is the tip of the chin or the center of the chin. So we can just measure those points when the patient has teeth or when the patient has a complete vertical occlusion, and after the teeth have been extracted, we can use that same distance or the same length to be reciprocated in our edentulous cases. So here also we have chin, the tip of the chin and the base of the nose. Okay, so these 2 points, first we measure this vertical dimension at occlusion. Okay, and then this can be used to reciprocated in our edentulous cases. We first measure it when the patient has teeth. After extraction, we use that record to reciprocate it in the edentulous cases. So that is all about the pre-extraction records. Lastly, we'll talk about the measurements from former dentures. So what does this mean? Measurements from former dentures. If the patient is already wearing a denture, or if the patient is comfortable with one of the dentures that the person has already, we can use a Bowley's gauge. I'll just write it here. A Bowley's gauge or gauge is used, and then the distance, the dentures are placed in occlusion, and from the upper limit of the denture, that is the impression surface, from here the denture to the lower part of the denture, the impression surface of the mandible to the impression surface of the maxillary denture, the whole unit is put into occlusion and the distance is maintained, or the distance is measured, and this distance can be reciprocated in the dentures that we make. So that is all about the mechanical methods. We talked about ridge relation, we talked about pre-extraction records here, and we talked about measurements of former dentures. So after looking at the mechanical methods, we'll go about with the physiological methods. So in there, we'll discuss about PowerPoint. So this is not the PowerPoint that you use in your computers. So this is our dental PowerPoint. So here I'll just write first PowerPoint. So here when the rims are placed inside the mouth, and we ask the patient to separate the jaw, and then the jaws are put into occlusion at different degrees of jaw separation. So here we take, if this is the mandibular rim, a gauge is placed, something like this, a central bearing plate is placed, and this is connected to a biometer, which shows us which has some numbers and some gauges or something like that. So when the rims are occluding at different degrees of jaw separation, so here the jaw separation is less, the patient bites, so less force is needed, more force is needed, and we have to tell the patient to keep doing that, and the highest value which is recorded in the biometer gives us the vertical dimension at occlusion. Okay, highest value. This is a biometer. So in PowerPoint, there is a central bearing plate. On the rim, and this central bearing plate takes up the force, or takes up the power that is generated or that is impacted when the mandibular and the maxillary rims collide or are put into occlusion, and this force is transferred to a biometer, and the highest value on the biometer gives us the vertical dimension at occlusion. Second is using the wax occlusal rim. So in the by using the wax occlusal rims, here first the maxillary rim is placed inside the mouth, and before placing that we take a tentative jaw relation. JR with a tentative centric relation. Okay, so a tentative, a rough vertical dimension is taken, then the maxillary rim is placed in the patient's mouth. Maxillary occlusal rim is placed and it is coated with a petroleum jelly or a petrolatum. So it is coated with a petroleum jelly. After that, the mandibular rim, what changes do we do in the mandibular rim? So here we have taken a tentative JR with a tentative CR, that is a centric relation. The maxillary rim is placed into the patient's mouth as such. No, we don't manipulate this rim. Here in the mandibular rim, we add a triangular cross-sectional wax, piece of wax, that is a modeling wax. Okay, and this triangular cross-sectional modeling wax is first placed in the water bath to soften it at 130 Fahrenheit, and this softens the wax. So on the mandibular rim, if we have a mandibular rim here, we have a triangular piece of rim over that, a triangular piece of modeling wax over there. Okay, and that piece of wax is softened. So when we place this whole unit into the patient's mouth, and when the patient closes it comfortably and the patient stops closing, or the patient stops putting pressure, the excess of the softened wax will flow out, and both the rims will be sealed. So after the maxillary rim is placed and the mandibular rim with excessive of a triangular cross-sectional softened modeling wax is placed in the patient mouth, the patient closes, and the patient closes the mouth. The wax rims are cooled down, and then later this is articulated. Okay, so that is about using wax occlusal rims. The next topic we'll see is using the physiologic rest position. So this is something that we have already discussed in the earlier in the earlier part. In physiologic rest position, both the maxillary and the mandibular rims are placed into the patient's mouth, and then we ask the patient to do the functional movements like swallowing and relaxing. After that, the patient is supposed to keep the mouth closed, and after the patient has done this functional movements, we gently pull the lips apart, or we gently open the lips to see how much space is there between the maxillary occlusal rim and the mandibular occlusal rim. If you remember, we talked something about like this in the vertical dimension at rest. So here in physiologic rest position, what we do is we keep the mandibular and the maxillary rims in the patient mouth. The rims in mouth. The patient does the functional movements like swallowing and relaxing. Okay, and after that we ask the patient to be in that same position. We used to play statue. We play statue with the patient, and then we slowly gently pull apart the lips. So the lips are slightly pulled apart. And then we look for the space between the maxillary and the mandibular rims. So as we saw that at rest, there will be a certain amount of space between the maxillary and the mandibular rims. So if this is the maxillary rim and this is the mandibular rim. Okay. So after the patient has done functional movements, there will be the patient's mouth would be at rest. Therefore, we'll have around 2 to 4 mm freeway space. So why do we learn this, or why do we talk about this? So if the freeway space is greater than 4 mm, okay, if the freeway space is greater than 4 mm, we can say that VD is very small. And if the freeway space is less than 2 mm, we say that VD is very great. So what does these two statements mean? If the space after doing the functional movements, if the space between the two rims is greater than 4 mm, which is too much, we can say that the vertical dimension is too less. because the rims are not adequately, fabricated. The rims are not adequately tall. We need to add more wax to get something in between 2 to 4 mm. So if the freeway space, the space between both the rims is greater than 4 mm, we can say that the vertical dimension is very small. We have to increase the vertical dimension. And if the VD is very small, that is less than 2 mm, it is 1 mm or 0.5 mm, we can say the vertical dimension is too great. The patient's skin is not relaxed, the patient's, the vertical dimension is not normal. It is excessively built. So here we have to remove wax, whereas here we have to add some wax. So this is all about PowerPoint, wax occlusal rims and physiological rest position. In PowerPoint, we have a central bearing plate and which is attached to a bimeter, and the highest value recorded gives us the vertical dimension at occlusion. In the wax occlusal rims, we have the tentative JR recorded with the tentative CR, that is the centric relation. The maxillary rim is coated with petroleum jelly and placed inside the mouth. In the mandibular rim, we add a certain amount of wax with a triangular cross section, which is softened in a water bath at 130 Fahrenheit. And after that, with the softened wax, we place the mandibular rim with the maxillary rim inside the patient mouth. The patient is asked to close and stop at a comfortable position. This thing is sealed, the wax is cooled, and the rims are articulated. In the physiologic rest position, both the rims are placed into the mouth. We ask the patient to do the functional movements like swallowing and relaxing. The lips are slightly parted or pulled apart, and we look for the freeway space. Here again we have that formula. Vertical dimension at rest is equal to VD at occlusion plus freeway space. Okay. So now we will talk about the next part, that is phonetics, aesthetics, swelling threshold, tactile sense and patient's perception of comfort. So these are just small topics, but it has got a greater importance. So in phonetics, we have to remember about two things, that is Silverman's closest speaking space. This is a very important topic and we also use this in our clinics to record our vertical dimension. Silverman's closest speaking space and the F, V and S speaking anterior tooth relation. Okay. So in these two, we'll first see about the Silverman's closest speaking space. So in this one, I'll just mark it as A and B. So in A, that is Silverman's closest speaking space. When the sounds or the words like CH, that is ch, S and J, that is j. Ch, s and j, that is CH, S and J sounds are pronounced. Okay. When these sounds are pronounced, the occlusal rims or the teeth, if you have teeth, then the teeth and the occlusal rims, they come in the closest possible relation, but they do not contact. So the teeth here comes in the closest position or the closest relation, but they do not contact. So that is the Silverman's closest speaking space. So when we place our teeth in the mouth or we have our occlusal rims placed in the patient's mouth and we ask the patient to say words like 60, 65, 66. So here the anterior teeth, the teeth will come in the closest relation, the closest possible relation that they can come, but they won't touch each other. There would be no point of contact, or they might touch very minimally. So here in the Silverman's closing speaking space, the sounds like CH, S and J are pronounced and the teeth come in the closest position, but they do not contact. So here, if there is too much distance, as we saw in the earlier one, if the freeway space is more or the teeth are not in contact, the space is too much, then VD is small. And if the freeway space is less, VD is too great. Okay. So that is about Silverman's closest speaking space. Next we'll see about the B1, that is FVS, speaking anterior tooth relation. What does this mean? So the position of the maxilla or the position of the maxillary rim is determined by the position of the movement of the maxilla, the maxillary jaw, when F and V sounds are pronounced. So the position of the maxillary occlusal rim or the position of the maxilla is determined the position of the maxillary teeth, I would say, is determined by the position of the maxilla when F and V sounds are produced. Similarly, the position of the mandibular teeth is determined by the position of the mandible when S is spoken. Okay, so here in F, V and S, speaking anterior tooth relation. So the position of the maxillary teeth will be determined by the position of the maxilla itself when you say the words of F with F and V, like 50 or Valium, something which has V and F. So when you try speaking those words, we will see that how the teeth and the rims contact each other and how these words include the importance of the position of the maxillary teeth. And in the position of the mandibular teeth, it is determined by the position of the placement of the mandible or the mandibular occlusal rim when the word S or the sound S is produced. So here the procedure is very, for this whole thing, the procedure is very simple. You put the occlusal rims in the patient's mouth and you put a beeswax or speaking wax on the mandibular rim, and then you ask the patient to say the words like 60, 65, 66. So here we have to see the closest speaking space. We can remove as wanted, and once our the vertical dimension is achieved, we can seal those seal those rims with ZOE and we can articulate it later. So that is all about phonetics. Then about the aesthetics, I'll just mention it here. In aesthetics, we see about the artificial teeth selection. So the length, the width, so the length of the artificial teeth that we will have to place, and the amount of residual ridge resorption. I'll just write RRR. So for the aesthetics in the vertical dimensionate occlusion, we have just to remember 2 points: artificial teeth and the amount of residual ridge resorption which was in the patient. And next we come on to the swelling threshold. So here it is very similar to the one which we discussed earlier. Similar as we had seen earlier, the maxillary and the mandibular rims are placed in the mouth. The mandibular rim has got an amount of extra softened wax, and the patient the salivation is stimulated in the patient's mouth, and the patient is asked to swallow. So when the patient swallows and there is a softened mandibular an excessively softened mandibular rim, it is closed, like due to the swallowing pressure, there will be a pressure on the softened rim of the mandible. So it will come out, it will just fall out or flow out, and then the rims are cooled, and when the rims are cooled, we just take it out and we articulate it. So lastly, we see about the tactile sensation and its patient's perception of comfort. So in tactile sensation, we have a central bearing screw and a central bearing plate. Only two key words you have to remember: central bearing screw, which is placed in the mandibular rim, and a central bearing plate, which is placed in the maxillary rim. Okay. So the mandibular rim has a screw and the maxillary rim has a plate. So when this screw is tightened, the patient will feel discomfort at a certain amount of jaw separation or a certain occlusion. So there is a screw in the mandibular rim and there is a plate in the maxillary rim. So we slowly turn the knobs and we tighten the screw. Okay. So after tightening, the patient will feel a certain amount of discomfort. So when the patient reaches this point, you stop tightening the screw and you will get the vertical dimension at occlusion. And lastly, we have got patient's perception. So this is also one similar to the one that we discussed earlier. Here we fabricate the mandibular occlusal rims of excessive height. Only one point to be remembered: excessively tall mandibular rims. Okay, so when you fabricate a mandibular rim which is excessively tall, the patient will feel, that is something is weird. So you remove a layer of wax from the mandibular rim and then ask the patient to close again. The patient will still say, no, I feel that still it is very upper or very tall. So we'll again remove a thin slice of wax from the mandibular rim. So after doing this stepwise removal of the occlusal rims from the mandibular rim or the mandibular wax, after a certain amount of time, the patient will say, no, now I feel that I am in a comfortable position, or I don't feel that the rims are very tall. So at that moment, you stop removing the wax and you seal the rims and you will get your VD at occlusion. So excessively tall mandibular rims, stepwise removal of wax. The patient feels comfortable. And once the patient is comfortable, you seal the rims and you articulate it. Okay, so these are the basic steps that we follow in recording the vertical dimension at occlusion. This both are entirely dependent on patient's perception. This is basically what the patient tells you to do, and this is also when the patient's threshold. When the patient reaches a certain threshold, the patient will ask you to not tighten it more. So that is all about the vertical jaw relation. So here we saw vertical dimension at rest. First of all, the definition of vertical jaw relation, then the two types in which we can record the jaw relation, that is the vertical dimension at rest and the vertical dimension at occlusion. We have seen the definitions for both of them and the methods for both of them. And that's all. Hope you like this video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to stay in touch with my other videos, like in the upcoming videos. And also please put in the comments about the next topic that you want me to discuss in our upcoming video lectures. So that's all for today. Thank you.